At some point, we will have some projections that we can look at, and then that might be an area that will take care of the problem for us.
Mr. Adam, your thoughts on transportation funding going forward?
We've got a real need for transportation funding. We don't have enough, I'm going to be honest with you, every year. And so, yes, I would be in favor of taking some money from the oil and gas industry. I'm not in favor of hitting our gasoline at the pump. But we're going to have a windfall of money on the oil and gas industry in the state of Texas. Right now, we're drilling more than any other country in the world, right here in the state of Texas. And that's pretty awesome. But we need to use that money wisely. And so I would be in favor of dedicating funds to transportation, but making sure that those funds are dedicated to go to transportation and not wheeled off in 3 or 4 different areas.
Mr. Lee, you're up on transportation funding.
I think Senator Robert Nichols, who represents a portion of Montgomery County, has suggested an amendment to the Constitution to take what are termed severance fees or severance dollars from the oil and gas production and dedicate those to the transportation. And I would support that. I think we have to have a dedicated stream, not unlike what we have for education, to provide for the growth and tied to the economy. On the other hand, I do see a need that we need to adjust the gasoline tax slightly and wisely. We need to talk about the diversion of dollars that are coming out. I think 25% of the gasoline tax goes to the other areas, and as I alluded to earlier, we have to think through, if we move those dollars back to road transportation, what other areas are we impacting, specifically education, and to assure that we don't sacrifice dollars in that regard.
Thank you. And Metcalf, next on this.
I'm in favor of reassigning the sales tax that you pay whenever you go buy a new vehicle at the car dealership. Right now, that 6.25% sales tax that you pay, it goes into the general fund. I'm a firm believer in truth in taxation. If you reassign the 6.25% sales tax to the transportation budget, you're fine. What better way, truth in taxation, do you have of paying the 6.25% to go onto the transportation budget on the roads that you drive on, as opposed to going into the general budget that funds different projects that you and I here tonight don't particularly like?
And Mr. Millsaps on transportation funding.
Well, first of all, the 6.25% sales tax on new vehicles equates to $3 billion per biennium in our general revenue fund. Moving that money out of the general revenue fund and directing it to transportation leaves a hole on the general revenue fund that would have to be filled some way or another, whether it be with a new tax, which I oppose, or through belt tightening. I propose what we do is, since we take in a new 1,000 residents per day, equating to $6 billion in increased sales taxes per biennium, we immediately direct that $6 billion directly to the transportation fund. That $6 billion will never hit the general revenue fund, and the legislator will never be able to add it or take it out of the budget. It'll go directly to transportation. Through going after waste, fraud, and abuse, we can tighten our belt and the other assets of the budget to allow us to continue the same services we do today with the new increase in population without dropping services or changing the way we do business. I think by doing that, we fund the transportation at $6 billion per budget, which is more than enough to add to our current transportation budget to go after the roads and bridge projects that we need in order to have an infrastructure system in Texas that meets the future needs of our transportation.
And I see wants to use a rebuttal card on that.
No, not rebuttal, but I agree. That's right, he's my brother. All right, I agree, folks, but you realize we're the number 5 oil and gas producing entity in the world. That Texas is now past Saudi Arabia. So if we want to succeed, this is the time to do it. We have guns and we have oil and gas, right? You're supposed to laugh at that, I'm just kidding, right? All right, maybe not. Maybe not. In 10 years, we might be back up here saying that, right? But what we have here is a wonderful opportunity, and I agree with Jason and several guys on the board. We're on the right track. But it's like a feeding frenzy at the Capitol when you're trying to have monies that are extra monies. When the comptroller says we have $9 billion more than we thought we were going to have, it is like somebody said, there's free pie downstairs. I mean, they're running after that money. And I understand that. I've been there, got run over by those guys. And so the challenge we have to have, and I agree, again, this is good stuff, because we have to prioritize based upon principles and values. And we know to keep Texas moving, we've got to look at transportation issues. I go back to who you're voting for lieutenant governor and who legislators are going to vote for the Speaker of the House. That is an important position to get these issues out early in the session, so that we can start having those conversations. The comptroller tells us how much money we have available, and then we start allocating, as Mr. Millsap has said, where that money needs to go. I'm not saying that all that money needs to. We still have education issues, and we'll talk about education hopefully in a few minutes. But education is an area that's going to want some of those funds. With the Obamacare situation, we're still not out of the dark there. We still have a lot of funding that we're going to have to provide in the next biennium for the health and welfare of our state of Texas, and it's going to take a bunch of money there for that. So we're also forecasting and projecting where these funds need to go. So until we really see the comptroller coming forward saying, look, Texas has had a great 2 years, we have this amount of money available for us, then we begin to say how we want to allocate that. But we certainly need to fund the roads and the transportation that's keeping us healthy.
And Mr. Lewis, something else on that?
No, I thought our rebuttal was 1 minute, not 2 minutes.
Oh, okay, I thought you were one, okay.
One o'clock.
Got it, thank you. I can't see it, so I'm glad y'all are watching.
We're watching.
All right, y'all are watching, thank you for that. All right, we're going to start back with Mr. Ham on this next question that each one will get to answer. Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution. Article 5 provides the method for amending the U.S. Constitution. Of course, it can be proposed, Congress can propose amendments, or states can call a convention to meet and propose amendments that have to be ratified, of course, by the states. Now, in the conservative movement, historically, conservatives have feared a constitutional convention. The concern has been that the caliber of men and women gathering today would not be quite what we had back in 1787, and so we might have a runaway convention that destroys the Constitution. Of course, we know that we got this Constitution because they were really supposed to be revised in the Articles of Confederation. So, there's a growing movement, though, among conservatives that it's time to call for an Article 5 convention of the states. Good conservative leaders differ over this, and so it's kind of out of left field, but it's becoming a hot issue. So tell us your thoughts on the states calling for a convention to amend the Constitution, things like a balanced budget amendment, things to get the federal government back in control. So what are your thoughts, if you have any, on an Article 5 convention of the states to propose amendments to the Constitution? And Mr. Andrew, we're back to you first.
Let me just be clear. Are we talking federal, or are we talking about the state of Texas?
Yes.
Changing the amendments in the state of Texas?
We're talking about the U.S. Constitution, but the Constitution says the states would call for a convention. So it will be the state legislature. If we want to do this, the state legislature would pass a resolution calling for a convention. Yeah, good question. U.S. Constitution, should the states initiate that process to call for a convention to amend it?
Well, there's no doubt that Washington is a huge mess. But I'm a firm believer in the Constitution. And every time we whittle away at it, I think somehow we always seem to lose more and more freedoms. So I'm probably not in favor of changing anything to our Constitution. I would just like to remind people they need to follow the Constitution instead of changing it and twisting it and bending it. If we went back to it, things would be a lot better off. Texas and the United States.
Your thoughts on Article 5 Convention of the States to propose amendments to the U.S. Constitution?
I would support a constitutional convention. I think there's two issues, and they come right to the top of my head immediately, are the issues related to executive orders and how we've lost control of the executive orders that the current president provides or follows. I think there's decisions made by law, as they should, and he tends to override those. And I do think that the we should really examine closely enforcing a balanced budget on the federal level, that we do not continue to build the debt that we see just astronomically rising.
And Mr. Metcalf, your thoughts on Article 5, Convention of the States to propose amendments to the U.S. Constitution?
I'm proud of our Constitution. The problem is the people running our federal government. You know, if people would do their job and get educated on who the right candidate is at any level, they'll elect the right people. And we wouldn't be standing here talking about executive orders, things like this. This wouldn't get out of hand. So I love our Constitution, and they just need to read it and go by it.
And Mr. Millsaps, you're up next on the topic about Article 5, Convention of the States.
Yeah, I do believe that the state of Texas and other states, for that matter, need to call this constitutional convention. The one thing I would go after immediately would be term limits for our federal offices. And also, forcing the federal government to balance its budget year over year. Executive orders are a necessary thing for a president for times of emergency, but the problem with our current administration is our current legislature in Washington allows for radical executive orders. Some executive orders have purpose. Unfortunately, right now, the ones we're seeing don't have purpose other than inflict pain on our citizens. So I would say let's leave the executive orders in their place, but we need strong people in Washington that are term limited who will hold the president to account for what he does.
Dr. Siegel, you're next on the issue in Article 5, Convention of the States to amend the U.S. Constitution.
Representative Hughes, I have a question. Could you tell me what the breakup would be, how many Democrats and Republicans would be in this constitutional convention?
Yeah, it depends on, right now, the Republicans control the majority of the state legislatures, and they'd be presumably some of the delegates, but that could obviously change.
Okay, I'm for it today then. All right. Because what's going to happen, you know, every election is so important because we change the makeup of the House, our U.S. House and Senate as well as our state. And so we have to be very careful on that, giving power to those who would not necessarily represent the values and the principles of Montgomery County patriots. So to know that, I agree with all the men. We know that our Constitution has been set aside by the current administration. We're all bothered by that. Why? Because we believe in the Constitution. We believe in Amendment 10, right? That we know that the far reach of the government has overextended what it can be. And in Texas, we're fighting against that, and we're really overcoming with all the healthcare issues that are being put upon us, the lack of immigration support, all these areas that we feel like we're being just totally regarded as far as disregarding the Constitution. So when we start thinking about that, I always encourage you as citizens to get involved in the process. So I'd love to have that. I'd love to be able to at least have a convention to have the discussion about what does the future look like for Texas. For my grandkids and your grandchildren, things are going to change. And we may need to make some changes. And the best way to do that is what? Is to start talking about that. We need to start talking about where we are as a state. And we all realize that our red state does not look like other red states. And our red state can begin to look a lot more bluer with all the people moving here, 1,300 a day. So we realize with that, we've got to be aware of the changing landscape and climate of Texas and what is in the best interest of Texans. And to do that, it requires for all of us to sit down, to have those conversations, and to begin to think long-term, where are we going as a state, and are changes needed and necessary in our current Constitution, and then get behind that. It's going to take men of courage and valor to do something like that. And I think we have those in our Texas legislature.
And we'll begin with Mr. Louis for the next question. We talked about the state budget and about the pieces of the budget. And of course, a big piece, as it should be, is public education. Most of us don't believe the feds ought to be very involved, but the state constitution says that the state shall provide a system of free public schools for general diffusion of knowledge. And so, given it's a big responsibility of the state, give us your thoughts on education reform. We're thankful for strong public schools in Texas and in this area. We know they're good. Tell us how we can improve public education, and just share your thoughts with us on that. We'll ask each candidate to do that.
I think in Montgomery County we're a little bit misled about education because we have such outstanding school districts in Montgomery County. We have Conroe ISD, Montgomery ISD that are exemplary. Certainly Willis, Splendora, New Caney, our top school districts. So I think that we have a difficult time conceiving of what the problems are in our school system. I think generally throughout the state, we need to relieve the teachers of some of the burdens they have and allow them to go back to teaching the subjects, get away from the standardized test teaching, get away from having to discipline children. We need to find ways to encourage our parents to be more engaged with our children. Again, looking at the models we have locally, I think we find that our parents are very much engaged, but throughout the state, we're missing that piece of the puzzle. I think also we need to make sure our kids are prepared for life circumstances when they graduate. The examples are that not every child has a desire to go to college. I employed many in my automotive repair business that came out of high school and they wanted to work on cars. They can make a good living working on cars. They can make a good living welding, but what we do now is have some sort of guidelines that they have to pass, take a standardized test, and when they graduate, they have to find a trade school they can attend. There's not a reason, just like we have dual credit classes with our local community college, that we can't do some sort of vocational training when they're sophomores, juniors, and seniors, so they're prepared for the workforce when they graduate.
And Mr. Metcalf, on public education.
I believe that our teachers need to get back to teaching our children instead of teaching them how to pass this test or that test. I also believe in local control. I believe that our local school districts know what's best for our children other than the bureaucrats in Austin and or DC. I also believe that we don't have a funding problem, we have a spending problem. We need to find ways where we can spend smarter. I promise that once I'm elected, I will meet with every superintendent within our district to see how we can better improve our system. They see the front line. They are on the front lines as they meet with the teachers, the parents, and the students. So we can meet with them, come up with solutions on better how to address our education issues.
Mr. Millsaps, you're up next on public education.
Conrad ISD has in its proposed budget for the 2013-2014 school year, 88.4% of its budget goes to the entire payroll system for their school district. When we have coaches making over $100,000 a year and not teaching a single class, I think we've shifted our priorities from education to other issues. We have a priority to have well-compensated teachers and instructors, but not at the cost of a great education. And I would encourage school districts to utilize the zero-based budget system for each campus and as a district as a whole. That way we can plan for the needs of each campus and not so much the wants. Our kids' education should come first and the extra activity should come second. I would also go a step further than the legislature did in this past session with Common Core. I think Common Core needs to be out of our classrooms. The legislature said that the state will not force Common Core on our districts, but it left a hole for the district's board to adopt Common Core. I would take it a step further and completely say no to Common Core statewide. I don't think the school district should have a decision for putting that indoctrination program into our classrooms. And second, I would let teachers and parents decide on what's taught in our schools and not the bureaucrats in some elected board or non-elected board, either in Austin or through their state educational regions.
Dr. Seago on public education.
Yes, and I have met with all three superintendents of schools and looking forward to meeting with New Caney. And this is an issue that's deep into my heart because I run an educational entity. Education is really, folks, about three elements if you want to really understand education. It's really about the intended outcome of the education, whether it be college level or preschool, your church school, Sunday school. It's about outcome. What do you want to, what is the outcome of the teaching? And so that's one thing you have to determine. Do you want to teach to a test? Do you want to teach to a Common Core? Which obviously we don't have in Texas, we will never have. And then the second thing is the delivery system. How do you deliver the information to the students? We're using a brick and mortar system. which is antiquated in the respect that we still have to get a lot of students in a room, and it's based upon how much money we have to pay folks to teach X amount of students. We get that, and we're processing out of that with technology and with online classes for our students. We're moving to an area where it's a new day. Greg Abbott, a few days ago, I had the privilege to be able to talk to Mr. Abbott about this, and he was sharing with us about what? That we need to put Texas at number 1, we're not going to move Texas from number 27. Representative Hughes, I appreciate your compliment, but our state of Texas is not where it needs to be in education, and you guys have been working hard to provide the support we need for that. But as we move to that, we have to have a new system of delivering information, and doing it, as this board has said here, men on this table, doing it more efficiently. And the second is the third is curriculum. And we know Common Core is a disaster. It was hopefully going to turn out well for folks and for our districts, and I understand. I was trained to be a superintendent of schools, so I understand that, but it didn't work well, and it's a whole new day, and that's going away, and it will go away legislatively and within our school districts. But it is a new day, and I'm looking forward to getting to the place where I can have some input and hopefully maybe have some impact upon the education system in Texas.
And Ms. Tram, so we're talking about the public education system in Texas. How would you reform it? How would you improve it? We want to always strive to improve it. So what are your thoughts on public education, the biggest part of our budget?
Well, I'm going to agree with Gary Lou on some of this stuff. I think that we're making a lot of great steps in moving forward, but I think we need to start identifying these kids that aren't going to attend college, whether they can't afford it or choose not to go. We can have these kids ready today when they step out of, when they graduate, ready to go into the workforce and be productive members in Texas. And that alone will start whittling away at some of the problems we have, crime, entitlements, because they're ready to go to work. Back when I went to school, we did a whole lot more stuff than these kids do today. And people were ready to go to work. And college is great. If you want to go to college, then we need to make sure that you're employed enough that you can afford to go to college, and those avenues are ready for you. But if not, there's kids getting out today making $30,000, $40,000 out of high school that go off in the oil field business. Within 5 years, they're at $70,000 or $80,000. You don't have to have a college education. What you have to have is a wherewithal to go to work, and we owe them an education in high school. We also owe them some vocational programs and some charter schools. And we can even if they wanted to go into business, we can provide those for them. So there's a lot of avenues that we can change to get these kids ready to be productive members of society.
Ms. Lewis, back to you for a minute on that.
I'm glad that Dr. Segal brought up the point that wherever Texas is now on the national level, it's in the lower half of the extreme, and our goal isn't to just move up another step, is to get to number 1. And I think we have to really focus on allowing our teachers the opportunity to teach and making it valuable throughout our society, that education, that the school is a place for the child to be, and that is a safe environment. And that I was having this discussion earlier, and I'm watching that time, that we don't honor our teachers enough. We need to assure that our teachers are the highest paid and responsible people in our society, because they have our children 8 hours a day.
Gentlemen, your answers this evening have given a really good flavor of your views on a number of questions will be before the legislature. Now, the representative for House District 16, come January of 2015, will cast a vote on the first day that many people believe, and I would argue is one of, if not the most important votes that you will take as a member of the House, and that is the election of the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House will appoint committee chairman and committee membership, which will determine whether bills ever make it to the floor. We'll also have a lot of influence over the House rules. And so, difficult topic, but our constituents need to know where we stand. Tell us where you stand on the current leadership of the Texas House. It's something that the new rep is going to be able to vote on, to be able to participate in. So tell us your thoughts on the current leadership of the House in Texas. If need to make some changes, what would those be? Tell us, you're going to get this question going forward as a candidate from a lot of people, maybe you already have some. And Mr. Metcalf, it's your turn to be up first with that. I wasn't trying to pick on you, it's just how it felt. So, leadership of the House in Texas currently, you're satisfied with it, would you make changes to it? And how important is that to you?
No, I'm looking forward to that vote. First of all, I don't know who's running. Don't know Speaker Strauss personally. Never met with him or any of his people. And I can't honestly tell you who I'm going to vote for because I don't know who's running. You may be running, I don't know. So,
No, that's not what it's about, don't worry about it.
yeah, no, I can't answer that question because I have no idea who's running at this time.
Are you satisfied with the current leadership of the House? I want to make stress that for everyone.
No, that's fine. I would not have voted for this previous year's budget, as I previously stated.
And Mr. Millsap's here next on the question. Are you satisfied with the current leadership of the Texas House? And what would you do about it if not?
No, I would not vote for Strauss if I was there already, and Strauss has to go. I will vote for a leader who emerges and runs for that position. As I said, I would vote for a leader who emerges and runs for that position, who holds my values close to their heart. Free market system, conservative values that also are your values back home in my district. And I will look at these candidates and vet them just like you are to us to see if they're going to be a great steward and leader for our next legislative session.
And I see you're next on that question. What do you think about the current leadership of the House? Would you change that? If so, how would you do that?
Representative Hughes, I want to thank you for being willing to run the last session for at least almost to the place where we could actually vote on you, sir. It's a very challenging position. We understand that there's so much power in that position here in our state, and we have certainly had some failures in that area. I appreciate the 7 people that clapped over here when Jason said no, and I'm emphatically saying no. I could not vote for Representative Strauss, but I didn't get any applause. Okay, that's fine. And here's why, folks. You have to have. We feel like, and again, this is leadership. This is not personal vendettas. When you see someone, whether it's Speaker of the House, Lieutenant Governor, and they show you their leadership by what they do and what comes out of committee and committee assignments, and we see over and over in the last 3 sessions I've been involved in, where we have men punished that decided to vote against the Speaker. It's been a time-honored tradition. We realize that, I'm sure, but we're trying to find the right man that can lead the session and to get the work done. For example, getting transportation and the budget early in the session. And that's not always the current leadership, especially in this situation. I've shared with people, I can't imagine a reason why I would vote for the current speaker. And that breaks my heart because that goes against someone who has a lot vested in that position and they've done a lot of good. But you have to continue to think what is best for Texas and what is best for my district. And I think it would be best for you to change speakers.
Mr. Andrew, our next question about the current leadership of the House. What do you think about it? Would you change it? Tell us about that.
Well, I haven't been there, and I personally don't know Joe Strauss. I can say he helped push through some of the toughest legislation on abortion, and I'm pretty proud of that. Planned Parenthood is basically no more. But I don't know him, and so we've got to know. I'd have to know who else is up to make a decision. I think he's done a pretty good job. I think our Lieutenant Governor blew it over the Senate side, but I think he's done a decent job.
Ms. Lew, we're back to you on the question of the leadership of the House. What do you think about it? Would you change it as a new member of the legislature?
Oddly enough, I know Joe Strauss. I don't know him well, and I don't know him as a politician. I just happen to know him from San Antonio roots and similar age. But I think it's a difficult position for any person to be in, to be the Speaker of the House. I think if you look at the history of speakers of that House, they They've had constituencies on both sides of the aisle, regardless of whether Republican or Democrat, but simply whether they like them or not like them based upon their committee assignments and a lot of different things. I think as far as what I've seen of the process the last 2 sessions, I think Strauss pulls together a consistent group of people and moves the legislation and the legislative process forward. I think it's incumbent on the other 149 members to stay on top of what is important to them and their districts and assure that the laws that are important to them and the bills that are important to them and the issues that are important to them continue moving forward.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're about ready to move into your 5-minute closing statements. We're going to continue in the same order, and so it falls to Mr. Millsaps to have the first. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Okay, so on the 5 minutes, can y'all see this okay if we hold up? We all be able to see the iPad here? Because I apologize, I didn't have the time you could see on that opening 5 minutes. That was my fault. Please forgive me for
That
that.
has an internal clock. $5 for the second.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll do those, so we should have a 5-minute closing statement, and Mr. Millsaps, you're on.
Well, I won't take up 5 minutes of your time. I thank you all for coming out tonight and enduring this cold weather to be with us tonight, listening to myself and these other fine candidates that we have up here. It shows how important this race is to Montgomery County and is to Texas as well. We've all heard some great ideas tonight and a few that are not so great. The time for the old political class has come to an end. It's time for patriots to take over again. So I stand before you tonight as the fresh conservative voice in this race that we need representing us in Austin. I have what it takes to stand up for you, the voters of this great community, representing your values and working for you each and every day. With your support, I will go to Austin, fighting to make sure our future shines brighter in Texas, fighting for our children and for our community and for our future. Vote for me, Jason Millsaps, as your next Texas State Representative for House District 16. I invite you to join us online and on Facebook. My website information is located in the flyers in your seats. I'm asking for your support tonight and your vote as your next Texas State Representative. God bless each and every one of you, and may God continue to bless the great state of Texas.
Dr. Segal, you're next in this alphabet that we'll be using for your 5-minute closing statement.
They would be booing if I go 5 minutes. Thank you so much for... I feel like I'm preaching again. They boo me from the back row if I go too long. And folks, this is, I really applaud you for being here tonight. And there are head votes here and there's heart votes. And we know it, all the candidates know it. That we have people here that love these guys, and I have a few that love me. And you're going to vote with your heart. And we respect that, and we honor that, we thank you for that. I encourage you to get behind the campaign, help them, love them, support them. It's a long, arduous road that we're on, and we really need that. Those are heart votes, and those heart votes I didn't change anybody here tonight by anything that I said, and that should be the case. Support your candidate. But then there's a few head votes out here today, and all across our county, wherever we go. We have a wonderful District 16, and unfortunately we have to elect a new representative, and that's a good thing because it does bring fresh ideas, and we've got some great guys here that I think you can choose from to help with that. But the head vote, you have to look at, as we begin, who is experienced, who is ready for that. Austin is a difficult place to be. I think Representative Hughes and Representative Creighton can say that here tonight. You get there, the lobbyist is intense, and I've been one of those guys going from door to door, praying with guys and trying to get bills passed. Being on the other side of that is going to be a very challenging time. So think carefully with your head, listen, read, see which candidate would best represent your values, your principles, and I pray that along the road before we get to March 4th that you'll realize that Ted Segal is the guy that you want to represent your values and your principles in Austin. God bless you. Thank you.
Mr. Ham, you're up next for the 5-minute closing statement.
I want to thank everybody for coming out, and enduring this with us. It is a long road that's in front of us. And on March 4th, you're going to have to make a decision of who you want to vote for. Out of all the candidates up there, I'm the only candidate that's had multiple businesses since 1992. I think I know what it takes to get a job done and to make sure that Texans have the opportunity to continue to work, because jobs is what drives Texas. And so I'm going to ask for your vote on March 4th to put a businessman up there in Austin, and a guy that's going to stand and fight and push back against the federal government with conservative values. I have fought the federal government on more than one occasion. And so I think I have the backbone to go to Austin for y'all to fight, to endure, and to stand strong for you in District 16 and for the good state of Texas. Thank you.
And Mr. Lou, you're recognized for your 5-minute closing statement.
Once again, as everybody says, this is not exactly a race. I like to think of it as a turtle trot. We'll be at it for almost 6 months by the time we get to March 4th, and we do. I think every person up here appreciates your support and your following, and the continued support. Especially tonight, it's a busy, busy time of season for everybody, but thank you for taking your time to attend this forum. We've all talked about our goals and objectives, what we intend to do once we get to Austin. There's only one of us. When you look at the combination of years of business experience, all due respect, I have a little bit more gray hair, our governing experience of serving an elected office, as well as that dreaded word, lobbying on behalf of nonprofits in Austin and working with our legislatures and getting critical bills passed, and community experience of serving nonprofits and providing service to our people here in Montgomery County. When you add all those experiences and those years of experience together, I by far outweigh all my opponents. I've been on the front lines, working on your behalf, working in the area of businesses, nonprofits, local governments, and state agencies. I've been in that position of having to stand up to the larger entities, the cities of Houston and the large developers that try to push their agenda onto the smaller communities. I have an understanding and a belief that the decisions in this district are made by the local entities, by the utility districts, the municipalities, the school districts. Again, I will say that I have the greatest level of experience of all the people up here. I have an understanding of the diversity of the district and the relationships within the district, and I have a proven record of making responsible, conservative decisions on behalf of the constituency. Here's a commercial announcement now. You can see my positions at www.votegarylouis.com, and you can help my esteem by liking me on Facebook. My name is Gary Louis. I need your support, and I ask for your vote on March 4th. Merry Christmas to everyone here, and have a safe and peaceful season. Thank you.
Okay, if you get the hardest question first, and you get the last word, give us your 5-minute closing statement.
Thank you. Pat, thank you for hosting this event, Montgomery County Tea Party. Appreciate you. Also, First Baptist Church, Mark Dennison, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Everybody in this room tonight, thank you for coming out in the cold and wintry weather. Merry Christmas to you all. You've heard our positions tonight, and this open forum is critical in this process. Thank you so much for being here again. Please visit my website, willmetcalf.com. You can learn more about our campaign. You can volunteer at the site. My cell phone number is listed on there. Please call me anytime. And with your help, you will elect the next generation of conservative leadership in Austin. Thank you.
Welcome you guys to my district, Professional Road Against Speed. Thank you all for serving. We'll take about a 5-minute break while we set up for the District 15.
Okay, as any candidates are planning on leaving after this, leave someone to clean up your political advertisements. We don't want to have to pay overtime for